Jan Mikowski has been growing grapes for 10 years. His Oxfordshire vines are thriving, but he's worried changes to the rules will cause producers problems.
I think it could turn out to be a double-edged sword, yes. My advice to any politician would be careful what you wish for. If you liberalise the market and throw away the rules without introducing other safeguards, then there are always going to be unscrupulous players who will knock out some cheap plonk at the bottom end, and that could tarnish our image.
Much of the UK's wine industry is still regulated by EU rules. The government wants to lose these laws and says this could boost business by £180 million.
At the moment, things like wine, they're governed by 400 pages of regulations. We think a lot of that can be stripped away and make sure that, frankly, this should produce potentially up to 50 pence off the cost of a bottle of wine.
But producers like Jan say prices won't change for high-end English wines.
There is a really important difference between English wines and British wines. English wines use grapes grown here and the wine has to be made here, whereas British wines can use grapes from anywhere around the world. They're the wines that are set to benefit from these changes.
Changes which would come under the controversial retained EU law bill. Legislation to determine which EU laws are replaced or kept. But some say there are bigger issues to address than wine industry rules.
It's not uncoincidental that the government, having walked back their plans on the retained EU law bill to scrap all of this EU law, is finding some areas where it feels it can present improvements. And certainly the changes around wine look pretty small compared to what was originally proposed to drop all EU laws.
English wines now have a global reputation. Producers say Brexit's made life harder, creating labour shortages and complicating exports. But the industry is still growing, with or without EU rules. Laura Bundock, Sky News.